Welcome to Catholic News World.
Welcome to Catholic News World. Please subscribe to our channel. My name is Steph. Here are this week's breaking news headlines.
Open Doors just released its World Watch list, revealing the 50 countries globally with the highest levels of discrimination against Christians. Around the world, about 365 million were affected by persecution in 2023, higher than in previous years. North Korea is still at the head. The top 10 countries of greatest persecution worldwide are North Korea, 2nd Somalia, 3rd Libya, 4th Eritrea, 5th Yemen, 6th Nigeria, 7th Pakistan, 8th Sudan, 9th Iran, 10th Afghanistan. 14,766 churches and Christian properties were attacked. The number of attacks on churches and Christian-run schools, hospitals and cemeteries has risen sevenfold compared to the previous year. 295,120 Christians were displaced in 2023, and the number of believers forced to flee their homes has more than doubled. Across the most dangerous countries for believers in sub-Saharan Africa, about 3% of all Christians are displaced. More than 365 million, 1 in 7, Christians face high levels of persecution for their faith, and persecution is becoming dangerously violent in countries on the World Watch list. A controversial bishop Canonicus Anthony William of Mysore, India, resigned after being accused. Pope Francis accepted the resignation of a controversial bishop from India. Bishop William, age 58, was replaced by an apostolic administrator a year ago, but has now resigned from the diocese in Karnataka. Many in the local clergy were against him, accusing him of taking lovers and fathering children, claims which he denies. For the bishops' conference, his resignation reflected the distressing situation in the diocese, and was not a disciplinary measure. Asian News reports that a year after placing Bishop William on administrative leave, the Pope accepted his resignation, as announced by the Vatican Press Office on January 13. Archbishop Emeritus Bernard Moras of Bangalore, who was provisionally entrusted with the Diocese of Mysore as Apostolic Administrator, remains in charge. Mysore comes under the jurisdiction of the Metropolitan See of Bangalore. Originally from the same diocese that he had led since 2017, the 58-year-old William has been harshly criticized by the local clergy, accused of having several mistresses and fathering children, as well as of involvement in the death of 4 priests who opposed him. A Vatican commission made up of 3 bishops investigated his case. A press release by the Conference of Catholic Bishops of India on Saturday noted that Pope Francis accepted Bishop William's resignation in view of the distressing situation in the diocese. The statement explains, however, that the resignation is not a disciplinary measure imposed upon Bishop William, but a move to provide the diocese with a new bishop. Bishop William has always denied the accusations against him. In the past year, he stayed in Uti, Tamil Nadu, and has filed lawsuits against the priests who have accused him. Some of his supporters recently held a sit-in in Mysore. Melwin Fernandez, secretary of the Association of Concerned Christians, one of the groups that oppose him, expressed satisfaction with his resignation. Fernandez, speaking to Matters India, an Indian Catholic news website, said, "This is just the start of holding him accountable for the crimes he's committed, and we believe he must face a fair trial." Prayers have been answered as 2 bishops, 15 other priests and 2 seminarians have been released from detention in Nicaragua. They were recently welcomed by the Holy See, as confirmed by Vatican News. The freed prisoners include Bishop Rolando Alvarez, who was detained for over 500 days, Bishop Isidoro del Carmen Mora Ortega, 2 seminarians, and 15 priests. In total, 19 representatives of the Catholic Church were freed by the Nicaraguan government. The news, spread by local media, was confirmed by the Managua government. Except for one who remained in Venezuela, all arrived in Rome in the afternoon of January 14 and are now guests of the Holy See. Monsignor Alvarez, Bishop of Matagalpa and Apostolic Administrator of the Diocese of Esteli, sentenced to 26 years in prison, had been in prison since February last year after having been under house arrest since August 2022. While Monsignor Mora was arrested in December 2023. Pope Francis, during his first Angelus of 2024, appealed to the Central American country for the release of the religious. In the Angelus at the beginning of the year, recalling the situation of the bishops and priests, the Pope assured his closeness in prayer, inviting the people of God to pray for Nicaragua, explaining that we always seek the path of dialogue to overcome difficulties. Already last year, in October, 12 Nicaraguan priests were released from prison. The Holy See had accepted the request to receive them. Welcomed in Rome, the priests were housed in some structures of the diocese. A new Gallup poll reveals 77% of U.S. Catholics view Pope Francis favorably, but his overall rating from Americans is lower. The new poll also shows that 58% of Americans view Pope Francis favorably. However, the Pope's 30% unfavorable rating among Americans is highest to date. Among U.S. Catholics, he holds a 17% unfavorable rating. The Pope has 42% favorability among conservative adults, 70% among liberals, and 66% among moderates. Pope Francis remains more popular than Pope Benedict XVI, who was viewed favorably by only 40% of Americans and unfavorably by 35% in Gallup's last reading of him in 2010. The latest reading of Francis, from a December poll, marks the 8th time Gallup has measured Americans' views of him since he was chosen as pontiff in 2013. Toward the beginning of his papacy, in April 2013, 58% of Americans overall and 80% of U.S. Catholics viewed Francis favorably. His popularity grew to his highest ratings the next year as he became better known, rising to 76% among U.S. adults and 89% among U.S. Catholics. Catholics' lowest rating of Francis, a still robust 71%, came in July 2015. 3 months later, after a visit to the U.S., it rebounded to 87%. His lowest rating among the American public, 53%, was recorded in September 2018 after an investigation by the Pennsylvania State Attorney General revealed widespread allegations of sexual abuse by priests in that state. Catholics' favorable rating of the Pope was not shaken in 2018 and has remained near 80% since then. Liberal Americans have applauded the Holy See under Pope Francis for its positions on the environment, unchecked capitalism, and helping the poor. Conservatives generally agree with the Pope's stance against abortion. In contrast, Pope John Paul II, who preceded Benedict and served for almost 27 years, was consistently viewed favorably by more than 60% of Americans in the 1990s and 2000s. His highest rating was 86% in 1998. Nearly 11 years into his papacy, Pope Francis is enjoying solid favorable ratings from Americans, including those who are Catholic.
Watch our programme every Friday at 7:30 p.m. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to Catholic News World channel. God bless.
Please subscribe to Catholic News World's YouTube channel. Thanks and God bless.